Hi everyone, my name is Glenn Bartley and welcome to another YouTube video. I'm down here today in the Ecuadorian Amazon rainforest and I wanted to bring you a little bit of a video review of some of my thoughts of the Canon 600mm lens. I've had this lens for about 6 months now and had a good chance to try it out. I've been to Peru with it, I've been down here in Ecuador, been to Brazil with it, taken it all over the place, and I can absolutely say that I love this lens. But I thought I would share with you some of my thoughts in case some of you are considering purchasing this lens or considering an upgrade. So let's do a little bit of a review. First of all, we may as well start with build quality. The lens, as you'd expect in a $12,000 lens, is built extremely well. Great new lens collar on it that works really well. The focus ring operates really smooth, and nothing really to complain about there. The main reason why most people would consider upgrading from the old 600mm lens to this one, or maybe doing what I did, going from the 500 to the 600, is that it's now a lot lighter than it used to be. It's 3 pounds lighter than the version 1 600. So it weighs 8.5 roughly pounds, 8.6 pounds, and that's about 3 pounds less than the old version. But what you'll also notice if you're used to the old 500 or the old 600 is it's a lot better balanced. Somehow they've balance the lens better, so it feels even lighter than the 3 pounds difference. So that's amazing. The other enormous advantage of this 600 over the previous 600 is the minimum focus distance. So for me, even if the weight wasn't an issue, the minimum focus distance of the old 600 would have been a problem. I shoot mainly in these dense tropical forests like you see behind me, and when birds pop in close, you got to be able to focus on them. And the old focus distance of 18.5 feet or whatever it was just too far away. So they've brought it back down to under 15. That works for my needs. So if you're using the old 500mm lens, you'll notice that this lens weighs about the same but is better balanced. If you're going from the old 600, it's a lot lighter of a lens. Now, speaking of going from the 500mm to the 600mm, a lot of people think that it's only 100mm difference. It's 1/6 difference in terms of focal length, which is sort of true, but the reality is that when you're talking about a picture, you're talking about area. So it's actually a difference of the squared focal length. So when you do the difference between a 500mm and a 600mm, the squared difference is actually 44% more pixels on the subject. And if you multiply that with a converter, it's an exponential increase. So definitely a lot more pixels on the subject, which is really the reason why I decided to upgrade. In terms of IS on this lens, Canon claims that it has a 4-stop IS now, 2 stops better than the previous version, which I would have to agree with. I've shot actually handheld with this quite a bit more than I would have with my old 500 and gotten away with some pretty low shutter speeds handheld, so definitely a great advantage there. And another thing I noticed going from the 500 to this lens is that I'm just finding myself using the 1.4 converter less and less, which is really nice. So often you can get kind of just in between that 500 and 1.4 range, and the 600 is perfect, which means you get the extra stop of light and definitely better IQ. Speaking of IQ, on this lens it is phenomenal. It's such a great lens. I mean, I'm going to go so far, and I don't think it's that bold of a statement really, to say that this is the best wildlife lens ever made, for sure. The IQ is amazing, the weight savings is great, the min focus, the build quality, everything adds up to say that this is the best lens ever, certainly for bird photographers, and probably for wildlife photographers. So, if you think you're in the market for one of these things, and you can justify the 12 grand, I give it my gold standard, highly approved, and despite the cost, I think it's worth every penny. So, hope you've enjoyed this review. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you have any questions, send me an email, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching.